Hello.
Hello.
I am Penny Douglas.
I'm Gary Douglas.
And we are back. Gary's back.
Yes.
From Dallas. We're back together again. And this is the topic of what we want to talk about tonight. Coming back together after a time of separation because of job or whatever has caused that. Ailing parent in another state that causes a visit that makes us have to, be away from each other. We've had a lot of that.
Yeah.
So we've had to learn how to handle this coming back together, the reentry part of adjusting to living together again, even though right now we only get to live together on weekends. But we've learned some things that help along the way. And are you going to say anything, or are you going to make me say everything? We will see. So one of the biggest thing when you do come back together, like when Gary gets home and after he gets everything brought in from the car and gets kind of settled in and says hi to all the kids, we have that extra little aspect to deal with, having 10 kids and having lots of things going on to distract Gary from me. But he does a good job of paying a lot of attention to me and being very affectionate, and that helps a lot. But one thing that you really need to do when you've been separated like that is to talk together. And we try to make sure we talk to each other on the phone every night at least, sometimes during the day too. And I know that helps a lot. That would be really hard on us if we went, the whole week without talking to each other, and then you come home and it's like you're strangers.
Yes.
And even if, sometimes as excited as you are to see each other and as happy as you are to be together again, conflict can happen and misunderstandings can happen, but if there is conflict, you just keep talking and don't walk away. Right, Gary?
Right. Well, the issue though is like, if it's already gotten heated, the best thing to do, they've already discussed a lot of this, other counselors, where if, as a man, you're pretty well at a boiling point, you need to just walk away. You need to go do something else. It's the same thing with any conflict, work, anything relational otherwise. Your best bet is to just, you got something. Your best bet is just
Buck is here.
Buck is here.
And Eric
Your best bet,
here
because how man is, you just need to walk away.
That's what you think.
Once the adrenaline kicks in, once the adrenaline...
I wrote here, keep talking.
It doesn't. The only way is that once the man is settled down, once the adrenaline's gone...
Are all men like that?
I would almost bet.
Okay, I'm going to interject off screen here.
Here you go.
We're hearing a difference in tempo here, because what you're saying is keep on talking. What he's saying is in the immediate, if it's too intense, you walk away and you get yourself oriented first. You get to a calm place first. You're not really disagreeing because you are supposed to be talking, but the question is, do you need to change the tone and make sure that you're de-escalating and bringing it down? Absolutely you do. You have to get out of conflict mode. You have to make sure the tempo is smooth.
The whole thing, as far as any form of arbitration, is if things become heated, the best thing to do is to restart.
Hi, Jane.
And restarting that basically means
Steve.
that you, for the immediate, you cut it off.
And then you come back together and talk some more.
Yeah, I never said that you weren't supposed to.
Right. Okay, that's the keep talking part.
Yes.
Okay, now this is something that you said when we were discussing this. Okay. The woman puts all the blame on the man, and the man gets defensive. You see, this is blame for, there's probably going to be frustration about the state of the house because the dishes aren't done and the house is a mess and things like that. I don't know if everybody has that problem, but
Yeah.
when Gary has been living in this immaculate one
Yeah.
bedroom and then he comes home to our big mess with all the kids, and that's hard, isn't it?
Excessively so.
Yeah, he starts cleaning, and
Especially, well, you know, the whole thing is just plain and simple is the change of environment. I don't care if it's commercial, if it's military, if it's from an oil rig offshore to a field somewhere, whether it's just a couple of days out of the week, whether it's a measurement over time, over a month or more, it all has basically the same effect. And it's hard to adapt to come back to something. Biggest part being that, you know, the fundamentals. I was talking with our oldest about this. The basics, the differences between men and women. Men are usually the instigators, they're the givers.
hi, Julie.
Women are usually the ones that are the receivers. I mean, that's why, as far as the issues of intuition, of picking out, you know, issues of character, is that they are sensitive to those things. It's also why, you know, for them, it's not about the project, it's about the relationship. For the man, it's the other way. These are just some of the subtle differences. But the beginnings, like I said, the fundamentals. I mean, a man is a giver. That's why, for example, a man who has at least some clue to his own personal self-worth, his measure to determine his own value, is how well that he can take care of someone of whom he is responsible to or for. And if he feels inadequate, then he doesn't feel like he's worth a lot. His issue of significance is greatly reduced. So, you know, it's kind of odd. We've been doing, as a family, since way back, some people, they just leave their wife to do everything, and they say, well, I go to work and I bring home the bacon and that's good enough. Which in a lot of instances, I mean, that's, depending on what the man's doing. I mean, if he's military-wise, I mean, he's gone. He's either contracting for G4S out there in Yemen, or he's
Probably
in
gone
the
a year.
military. Yeah, he's gone for quite a while, and he's dealing with some intense and stressful situations. No, he can't do anything else. It's just impossible to expect such a thing. However, where you have a lesser intense environment, and you have the capability and, you know, the opportunity to return, there are still some different things that you deal with. Since way back, for us, my wife basically, you know, she homeschooled a lot, and during a certain point in a time of transition where I did not have any work, we started figuring some things out of how to balance and make things better, because she was trying to handle everything, and that was just too much. Between teaching, instructing the kids, handling things for groceries, dealing with dinner, all this, it was just more than she could handle, because, you know,
I had 6 little kids,
she had 6 little kids, and
all about a year and a half apart.
and so it became more or less ingrained with me, where I started taking on things like the grocery shopping and stuff like that. And a lot of times I actually took over the cooking. So that really freed her up, and even made things even better is when our firstborn basically put together a
Chore chart.
Yeah, from Claris Works or Apple Works. He created something that would basically interchange itself out, so not everyone had the same task over a certain frequency of time. And they got everything done they needed to, so they could get through their school, so they could go and they could play, and everybody was happy. Mama was happy, and I wasn't having to fight with anything.
I was happy when the kids started doing chores, that's for sure.
So everything was worked out. It became another disruption when I wound up having to work
Buck says you guys are awesome.
when I had
Thank you, Buck.
when I had to go up and go to Lockheed, earlier on in my career, I was used to taking off anyways because wherever the machines were, that's where you had to go. If you were going to do any fault isolation, any of that kind of work on the military vehicles, you went to where.
You had to
the
go to
machines were.
Oshkosh, Wisconsin when Sean was only about
Yeah,
a year and a half old, and
yeah,
I had kind of forgotten about that. We've had a lot of times of separation.
yeah.
I never wanted us to be
No,
apart at all. But
No, it inspired us to
jobs.
definitely start looking for other
Yeah.
means of making money. Then we were definitely inspired to get out of this. Big
yeah,
time. But anyway, with this thing with Lockheed, we were thinking there was going to be some permanency and stuff, but we found out that the multiple launch rocket system, the launcher group, basically there's a reason why they just keep those of age there is because for one, they're dealing with legacy, and much of those with similar titles cannot do the same job because they were never mentored. They were not taught how to do that. So it's just left up to us, I guess. Or I don't know, maybe we're the last of our kind on this kind of field of work. I don't know, but
so we're not counting on that to be our
no,
answer.
they really don't want to hire.
Moving up
They don't
to
want to hire
Dallas.
anybody, so we're kind of left where we're still having to contend with this back and forth junk. And it's the difficulty is that as I'm getting to this, so you understand where we're coming from instead of just starting in the middle of a story. I was used to basically taking on a lot of things for the groceries. I was used to knowing what we have, what we don't have, and being in the newness and the heat of the situation when I would come home. I mean, I'm decompressing. I've learned this since way back. You don't bring your work home. You as a man, if you got to stop by, wherever to hang out with somebody and get some things out of the way or decompress a little bit, talk with your friends or whatever, you got to sit out in the parking lot a little bit, pray, whatever. You do whatever you got to do to get rid of what you're carrying so you can continue with the family you're returning to. The biggest and hardest part for me in returning, which finally was about not necessarily a meltdown, but a climax of conflict, was not knowing about certain behaviors and challenges we were having in the family. Aside from where I once were taking care of things, I could tell you how many jugs of milk we got, where we were at on our water supply, things of that nature, basically just sustaining, logistics for this family. And I couldn't do that anymore. I mean, I couldn't even tell you who the heck was cutting the grass anymore, let alone,
And that's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's excessively frustrating because, you come home and you can't do anything.
So
you're totally just freaking worthless.
Your tip was
about
let the other know what's going on at home before he gets home.
Yeah, it helps to know what in the world's going on. I mean, you fight with these things, you deal with these things. What happens is someone else has got to just pick things up. You're out of the game for a while, and when you come back, everyone's just doing their thing because they had to fill in the hole where you were, so you're not there anymore. So what happens? You've got to be integrated back in.
Yeah.
If you got time where you can be there, as a man, you got to just figure on. Don't figure you're doing anything. If somebody can't fix something, can't take care of something, it's in your area that you can do something about it, then go ahead. But as far as what you used to do while you were there and now you can't, you got to just let it roll. You got to let it go and just give it up. I mean, either what you need, what you want is there, or it isn't. If it isn't, you might as well go get it. Go get it
to
for
Walmart,
yourself.
where we always hang out.
It's just, I mean, the whole thing.
You're gonna have to prepare yourself for.
You gotta figure out. It's not gonna be it's not going to be the same, and things aren't going to change until things are
Hey,
stabilized.
Whitney, thanks for coming again.
You know, if you're changing things out
Whitney,
like
this
that.
topic probably applies to you a lot. Her husband is in the Army,
Wow.
and he's in somewhere
Yeah.
right now. And another thing that really helps us is when we pray and worship together, when we're back together again. We pray together every night on the phone and do our declarations, but when we are able to really worship together, we do that on Sundays at church a lot of times, and then at home too, when we, usually in the morning. Yeah, and then have gratitude for each other and realize that even if things seem a little just sketchy and you're kind of touchy with each other at first. Hi, Rhonda. And Thomas Donahue. Some other people joined.
Yeah.
Even when things aren't going that well, just remember and think about how you have a husband that does come home to you. And as the husband, think about how you do have a wife and children to come home to. And, you know, you just kind of have to make yourself think those kinds of thoughts instead of the aggravated, irritated thoughts that, well, he always does this or she always does that. That wonderful always and never.
Always, forever, never. Yeah, you can't use infinite things in description. When you get angry, that's a no-go for any discussion at all, because when you start doing that garbage, which is exactly what it is, it's a lie.
Thomas Donahue said, howdy.
Howdy, man. There's no truth to that. There's no truth to it at all. And the whole part of you having the discussion to start with is finding some place where you can meet in the middle. A lot of, as we said before, a lot of disagreements, a lot of arguments are the result of a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
You're not getting the other person's
And that gets harder too
perspective.
because you're not together every day of the week. And so it's harder to just automatically understand what the other person means when they say this certain thing. Yeah, that makes it harder.
Well, yeah, and the issue of how long have you already been together, I mean, that helps. Issues of communication. Any way that you can stay in touch, it makes things better for re-entry, for returning. It makes things a whole lot simpler because you're not starting off on a blank like you just disappeared and you come back and you have no clue to what's going on.
Yeah, because you've had, whatever, 20 years, 30 years together, 10 years, like Whitney.
Yeah, the longer you're together, the better your communication, and it's not so much as quantity as it becomes quality, because you understand each other. You figure out what each other's needs are. We're hoping here soon to talk about those fundamentals. Like I said earlier,
Bye, Hannah.
it's in the man. It's ingrained in him. There's different levels of the issues of how that each man and woman are made. In the beginning, the very fundamental of the male is to give. He is supposed to be the initiator. That's how God has designed him. A woman is a receptor; she receives. This is how each are made. This is not something that you can change because this is ingrained in your nature. You know, just as I said, a man's capability of tending to his family, his ability to take care of who he's responsible to and for, has everything to do with how he sees himself, his self-image.
Yeah.
That goes right down to the fundamental, to the basics.
So you feel like when you're pulled out of the family and you're not able to do those things for the family, that makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
You're not able to handle the details that you used to, and
As things get more complex, if you get used to being a part of things, being integrated, you know, like for example, our family is in one of the biggest transitions of our lives. I'm not going to lie about any of that at all. I'm not going to sit there and hide any of that at all. That's what makes this even more excessively wouldn't say necessarily stressful, but definitely difficult to handle because there was a lot of involvement, and I could see where certain things could take off. We're talking about, the impact of changing lives, more than just the issues of what is monetary. Just a side note so everybody knows, when you fulfill what you are destined to do, when you go after what you have a passion for, where time and what maybe just around you just seems to hold still or just disappear, you're looking through a keyhole of what it was that you were designed for, what you were made for. It's imperative, especially for a man, that you have a dream, that you have a vision, because your purpose is tied to something, and to what the whole world pursues of monetary gain, of wealth, of notoriety, of power. Those things pursue the individual who fulfills their destiny, who goes after their calling. This is why there's a lot of resistance in our society to make everything somewhat the same, because those individuals that bust loose to that, those are your leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And each and every one of us, we have something within us that opens those doors, that changes things. Because, once again, it's an application of principle. To the one that sows is the one that will reap.
Mm-hmm.
And to what degree that is given depends on, not only to what attitude you've taken, but to how much effort you put forth, to the passion, to the attitude you have. It all affects what it is that's in the return. Now, this is pretty deep, but this is kind of the things that we're discovering, that we're coming into. And I really believe that there's more to what it is that we can do, that we can give, than the certain situation that we seem to be.
Well, what we were
I am.
starting to do projects together, all of us, Sean and Gary and I and the younger boys, and
Yeah.
we had all these things going on, and then Gary got the job in Dallas, and he's only home on weekends, not always every weekend, but on most weekends. And okay, Whitney says, for us, we have faced some hard times away from one another due to work. You should always look at your spouse as if that might be the last time you will ever see them alive. Life is so short. I don't know if I can see the rest.
I'll let you see it.
It says see more. Oh, there we go. Remind yourself of the core priorities, the simple things, because it all boils down to God, unconditional love, and time well spent with each other. Very good, Whitney. That's right.
Knowing that, having the wisdom of the differences between what you have as a moment and what you have that is progressive, that you have a period of time, in a situation where you're both separated, when you come together, don't let the little things
Right.
wipe out the moment
The
that
little
you have.
foxes. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter.
Yep. Keep that attitude.
Issues of logistics and things of that nature, it's time just to let those things go. Where it may have been a part of you, whatever you were responsible for, it's difficult because you're not there anymore. I mean, people say, well, you're providing for financially and all that, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that is a big deal, but when that's all that's on the table, and you've learned that there's so much more,
Yeah.
it is excessively hard
You want to be
to
integrated
return,
into the family.
and you feel like you're not a part of anything.
You feel left out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard. You don't know how to get back in, and we don't know how to let you back in. It's kind of difficult for both sides. Bye, Kelsey.
I'm gonna take my car in Saturday or tomorrow.
All right, honey.
I have tomorrow off, so that'll work out.
That'll be good, boo.
So the last thing that I had was give grace, be understanding, and put your own needs aside. And that's kind of sums up the attitude that each of us needs to keep. And we just want to do everything out of love.
I found my social security.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Yay! Victory! She found the Social Security card. So, I think that's pretty good for tonight.
Yeah.
So glad to have Gary back again. We're going to have another time of separation because I'm going to have to go to Ohio to see my dad for about 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks.
In September. I'll be gone most of September. So here we go again. But the Lord helps us to handle all of these things and to keep our marriage strong in spite of the difficulties and the separations and the uncertainties and all the stuff that we go through, and most married couples go through a lot of stuff, and we just have to always remember to be grateful for each other and to think of the good things about each other, and just keep that mindset as it should be, and not dwell on the things that we are upset about or wish could be different or any of that. So I think that's it for tonight. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate that. Next Friday, we will be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll be leaving the Saturday after that. So we'll see you all next Friday. If you have any prayer requests, leave those in the comments or message us. And any comments or any suggestions or anything, we would be glad to hear from you. And we love you all, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.